struck down a California law that made it difficult for young people to buy violent video games. You may think as a parent that they're not so good, but that's your decision. The court is saying it should be the state's decision. The court concluded that wasn't appropriate. They struck down a law that made it a crime to show a film about, essentially was the animal cruelty film. That was a legitimate exercise of state also. In some ways, the court is continuing with the tradition of providing more space for people to have different views. Before the court right now is the issue of fleeting expletive not on cable but on broadcast. Now, most of you don't know the difference, or most of us don't care anymore about broadcast versus cable, but this whole regulatory regime about broadcast TV, that's the NBC, ABC, CBS, that government regulates that and punishes stations if in fact they air things that have a sexual content. You know, Cher says the F word, or, you know, these stars kind of think they can do anything, I guess, and they say whatever they want to say on TV. And before the court right now is the question of the ability of the Federal Communications Commission to regulate stations and punish them for creating an environment in which these people can say those things. I think the court might very well strike that down as unclear. You can't really figure out what's permitted and what isn't. But that's a decision that'll come out pretty soon. So the short answer is I think we've now created a sufficient body of law with reference to at least the bigger issues that we should feel pretty satisfied. What is a bigger concern, it seems to me, is that so many people do not get involved in issues that are important to them. So I ask my students, raise your hand if you've ever been in a demonstration. And it's only a couple of people every year that have been in a demonstration. And, you know, to me, it doesn't make any difference what the issue is. There is value in getting out there with others that share your views and making your views known to the greater population. And it's important to know that you're not alone and you get all the benefits associated with working with others and expressing your feelings. There is no question that in the history of our country, even though we face great obstacles, public demonstration has been the most important form of people trying to affect government. Think about what's going on in the Arab world right now. I mean, people are losing their lives and doing what we take for granted. We don't do enough of it. People are more comfortable maybe reading about it or watching on TV as opposed to saying, okay, we're going to go do this together. Get out there, support our cause, whatever it is. We'll lose this unless people like you, we have more people like you, who decide to put in some energy and be uncomfortable for a period of time and make their views known. My feeling when I go by a demonstration, whatever it is, you know, I honk, I say something right on. I don't even if the issue I disagree with. And there are plenty of those demonstrations which I disagree with. I'm on the other side of the issue, but I admire the energy that people have to come out of their homes, come out into the cold or even in the warmth and make their views. If this catches on, and hopefully it will, we get more young people. People experience it as a young person. There's a better chance that they'll make this part of their lives. It won't be every issue, but they'll at least understand that that's part of the civic responsibility to get out on the streets, get into the parks, and join with others.
What do you know about hanging signs from public places?
Yeah, it's very, that's really a big problem. Because,
I know, that's why I'm asking.
So be very careful about that. I mean, so, you know, streetlight posts and, you know, all of the, you know, those kind of places that look convenient, you might be able to get away with it and put it up and they'll stay there before they'll take it down. As a general rule, unless this community has made a decision that people can use those, they're not a public forum. And yes, people, that's not to say that you may not want to use it. I don't want to discourage you if you want to use it, but if your sign comes down, you need to understand that they can probably take that down unless this community has decided that this is a place where people can put signs up. The best place to put signs, the place where you have the most protection, is to put them up in your own home or on your own property. The court has been rock solid on that. Well, you can put them on yourself, exactly. I mean, think about the guy who walked with the jacket in California some years ago with the F word on the back. And that was troubling to a lot of people. The F word today is so common, we hear it on TV all the time. 30 years ago, it wasn't so common, and he walked in the courthouse. It was F's the draft, and it was during the time. That case got all the way to the Supreme Court, and but for him wearing that jacket, we would not have had that important decision in which the court recognized that the amendment protects more than speech in the transmission of ideas. It protects the feelings behind speech, what the court referred to as the emotions that lead people to use words like that. Because this was his way of trying to zap at the people to pay attention to what he was saying. So, yeah, there are a series of cases in which courts have turned away people who claim that they have a right to put a sign on this building or on a traffic post or those kinds of things.
A private property.
It's really your best place. Yeah, your private property.
Right.
I mean, you can go talk to your neighbor and see if he or she. You know, and I'm always troubled when people come onto my property and take my signs off. That happens. I mean, I put up signs like everybody else. Campaigns come along or something else, and when people come onto, I live in West Pennsboro, which is probably 70% Republican, which is fine. These are historical Republicans, as you know, in this part of the country. These are people that have been Republicans really from the Civil War, and people vote straight ticket, and that's fine. But some small number of those people are not respectful of my desire to have a sign that represents the party. So,
as far as going up, like you're talking probably yard signs.
Yes, yard signs.
If somebody wanted to hang a big banner on the side of their house.
Yeah, they can do that too.
Like local ordinance?
Well, you might, given it's possible. That's going to be a whole other, and if you're in a condominium or if you're in a gated community, you may have all other set of problems. As a general rule, you should be able to put up pretty much any sign. I think it's going to be very hard for the community to somehow claim if the sign is not a permanent sign, particularly. I mean, if you turn your whole house into a huge glittering sign, then you might have zoning problems. But if you put up a big sign that says, you know, get out of Afghanistan or whatever you want to say, I think nobody's going to bother with that.
You spoke earlier about not necessarily wanting to constrain the place you want to protest based on the explicit legal permissibility of protesting there, because maybe you might get an administrator of that facility that's sympathetic and they may let you on.
Right.
Now, I was curious as to whether that's an issue of if the ground level administrator gives you permission, does that actually strengthen your case legally in the event that a higher level administrator later on says no?
No, it doesn't. I don't think it does it, nor does the fact that they let you on and let you be there for a period of time make it easier necessarily for the next person.
Right.
At some point, if in fact consistent behavior by the administrator over a long period of time has been that there is this space of public property which they have made in fact available, they had no obligation to do that. But then your argument becomes they've created what I call Category 2 property,